And let's continue on ancient Rome. This is a floor plan and schematic of a basic Roman home. Now, a whole lot of these homes weren't necessarily in the city of Rome itself, but they were found very often outside the city. And we're going to look at some main parts that you probably want to know, and that is one, the atrium is the hole that, if you want to call it that, the space between the roof and that leaves opened up that open courtyard, okay? We're going to look at the peristyle as well, with a colonnade that has the garden, that the atrium is in, and then the impluvium. That is that first hole in the roof that you see at the front of the house. That's where all rainwater was captured, and it creates sort of this pool, okay? Here's an actual home in Pompeii that would have been well preserved because of the volcanic eruption that basically sealed a lot of Pompeii right on the spot. Whatever it did incinerate, it sealed up in ash. This is a peristyle, that colonnade that's around the atrium that has the, and it's opened up to the rooms, the dining room, bedrooms, etc., all come around the side. A lot of homes were built like this in all over Europe and in Mexico, and used that, and in the Middle East, the idea of having that garden in the middle of the home as a common area. On the left, we have the impluvium, and that's where the water would have been captured and carried, okay? And it would have served as a way, not only as a beautiful spot, but it also would have been a source of fresh water if needed. Okay. There are 4 styles of wall painting, frescoes, in Italian Roman art. And these are painted, instead of like the fresco secco method that was used in ancient Egypt, which was just dry paint on a dry wall. I mean, not dry paint, but paint on a wall, a dry wall, not prepared. This is buon fresco, meaning true, not good, but true fresco. This is where the paint was actually applied to a freshly wet plastered wall, so that when the plaster dried and hardened that was on the wall, it sealed the paint in permanently and more thickly and more durably. We're going to talk about more of this in class. Buon fresco is the method used for all of these painting styles we're going to look at. The first one's called the first style. Surprise, surprise. And it's made to look like marble walls, sort of marble insets there that you see. Faux marble. The second style, it's the buon fresco, of course, again, Pompeii, is meant to look like almost like a three-dimensional stage set. Sort of gives the illusion of space or depth around the walls. Even though it's a short depth, it's still there. And there's figures and a scene in here. And sometimes there's outdoor kind of trompe l'oeil, fool the eye sort of frescoes. Anything that has sort of this space thing, okay? That is second style. Third style is completely different. There's a monochromatic kind of a color palette on the wall. Here they're using browns and dull reds and rust and things like that. But they've got this very geometric, linear, or sort of fanciful arabesque, sort of lyrical line designs. That's third style. Kind of beautiful. The fourth style, you're supposed to walk in and make it look like it's almost like there's windows that look like it's going through the outside. Looks like these inset paintings. It looks almost like a gallery wall with faux marble at the bottom and little sculptures that are pretending to be there on the top. You'll find multiple painted scenes on these walls, but it's sort of going into a modern day gallery. Okay, that's what you think of as fourth style. Encaustic painting and fresco painting that had to deal with portraiture. Encaustic painting in the Middle East and in Rome at this time was really a funeral portraiture, an honorarium for people. That was actually developed in they're called Fayum portraits. That was developed in actually Egypt. But these are actual portraits of people, living people. And what they do is they portray the interest or the educational level of the sitters. Here, the wives and these portraits are showing that they're literate. They can write and they can read. And the husband's also got a diploma. Maybe that even could be a part of citizenship that he's carrying. Okay, but anyway, that shows his, or maybe he's a scribe. Who knows? But anyway, that's something related to him. Okay, in the late Empire, Rome starts to be besieged from enemies from the north, Northmen, the Gallics, and from the Far East, and a lot of very poor emperors were usurped all the time and taken over by what were called soldier emperors, guys who were from the military who decided to just take over. And to pay for these soldiers and the wars and these soldier emperors' appetites, taxation increased. Christianity was starting to take hold too in Rome and all over the Roman Empire. And so things were in a bit of a crisis for the empire, for Rome. So at year 284, an emperor named Diocletian was appointed. He was another one of the soldier emperors. But he decided that Rome was too big to handle just one man. So he divided it up into 4 and gave it to 3 other guys as well. So there were 4 emperors, and they called it the Tetrarchy. Tetrarchy. Well, we're going to look at that in a minute. Okay, here are 2 sculptures of Roman soldier emperors. Look at these guys. The one on the right, he's almost a little bit too chunky. And he's got that, his head's almost too small. It's out of proportion to the rest of his body. The other guy doesn't exactly look super heroic as emperors go. Okay. The truth is important still, the verism in sculpture, but maybe these men aren't the most capable men to lead an empire. This is the portrait of the 4 tetrarchs, or the tetrarchy that we were discussing. Look at the way this is sculpted. They could, except for the beard on one of them, they could each be interchangeable. Physically, they don't look very realistic, do they? They don't look very naturalistic. And this is where spiritualism is beginning to supersede the physical, because of the birth of Christianity and the sort of that insurgence, the growth of it. Look how different it is than from the Augustus of Prima Porta a couple hundred years earlier. The last emperor is going to be Constantine, of the official, what we think of as the Roman Empire. This is it would have been, this huge, large-scale head actually was on a body, okay, and it held an orb. But the only thing that really remains is his head. It's quite large. I mean, it's big, 8 feet high. No, excuse me, yeah, 8 feet 6 inches high, 8.5 feet high. The large eyes gaze up towards heaven. He is invoking that spiritual awakening in him, because in one of his battles, he attributes to later the Christian God for his victory. He's got him to thank. And on his deathbed, he will convert to Christianity, making Christianity the official religion of all of Rome. But since Rome is in such chaos, he decided to move the capital of Rome to Istanbul. Today, what's called Istanbul, Constantinople back then. And that's where there's going to be a split between the West and the East. Okay? We're going to talk about that next. The last of the Roman Empire, basically in the West, falls apart. And that means Rome, what we think of as the Roman Empire. And the Byzantine, that begins with Constantine and his moving the Roman Empire to Istanbul, the Byzantine Empire gains in power.